My name is Jerry Holkins.
And you are
the founder of Penny Arcade, Child's Play charity in Pax.
Right. So Pax is your baby.
Yeah. Okay. In some ways. it has a pretty varied parentage. But the original idea 1,000 years ago definitely came from us, yeah.
And again, Ryan?
Yes, and I'm Ryan Hartman. I am the current event director on all of the PAX shows.
Okay. What is Pax?
What is PAX? You want to take that one, event director?
You'd think, right? But as the one who birthed it, the show emerged not from my loins.
No, this is the loins. It's more like Athena. Yeah. It's more like from the skull. PAX is a celebration of gaming culture, gamers, and game development.
And when you say game culture,
that is its purpose. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of its basic ideas is that even though it sort of looks on the surface like everyone is playing their own games independently, separate, in pockets around the world, those shared experiences result in a single culture.
Well, as a diehard cineast, as a film critic, reviewer for nearly 40 years,
yeah,
I have to acknowledge that gaming is bigger than cinema. And one of the questions I've been asking people downstairs is which is better, gaming or cinema? And you know what the answer is.
Yeah, you're gonna get into a fist fight.
Well, no. The answer almost always came back gaming. And then I asked why, and they say because with cinema you're just sitting there taking it in. It's the interactive and social aspect of gaming that apparently is the basis of its popularity. Is that fair?
Well,
is that it?
Well, I think that it's actually, the question is very sophisticated. So, to my mind, I don't think of it like that. I don't think of it as being two separate things or two separate forces that sort of war against each other. I think of video games, which is to say, in general, just the types of entertainment that you interact with, that are mutable, that you can alter, right? I think of that as just being a point in a continuum of entertainment and storytelling, of which films are the same thing. They exist in a line, and they are actually siblings. They're not rivals. They're actually of a piece with each other, and they inform each other in a lot of ways too.
They are complementary art forms because barely a film comes out these days that doesn't, I'm talking about a big film, that doesn't have a gaming component.
Tie in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So there's an industry aspect there too, obviously. It's another way to wring money out of a storied franchise or something like that.
So where does PAX show? This is Melbourne, Australia. What other countries outside the United States hosts PAX?
None.
Yeah. Just Australia.
None. Outside of the United States, Melbourne is the home of PAX.
Yeah. That's incredible. So where in America does it show? It's in Seattle?
It is in Seattle, it's in Boston, and it is in San Antonio.
What accounts for Melbourne, Australia being the only place outside the United States that has this gig? I noticed that some of the ticket sales are for international visitors. People come from overseas to the show.
I've met them. I have met them at this show because I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised when I come to PAX Australia, and then I have to listen for a little while to realize the person doesn't have, like to my ear, an Australian accent. People absolutely use this show because, like I say, PAX has its own culture and its own proponents. People use the PAX Australia show as an opportunity to come out and catch another show.
What accounts for Melbourne though, being the host of the only PAX show outside America?
Well, it's an amazing venue.
Yes.
And
the Jeff Shed.
I can tell you that when we were looking to expand the shows, like from an operational standpoint, there's a lot of stuff that goes into where you put this. It's not just like, hey, let's just do it wherever. There's a lot of considerations. And this was a great venue. The dates lined up perfectly. We have a great support team down here that helps us work with it. And I mean, quite frankly, it was a very short list, but this is just an audience that right away was like super thirsty for the content, that was super happy that we were here. And it's just totally reciprocated, like 100%.
No,
love the audience here.
And that hasn't changed at all.
No.
In fact, the conversation I have most often down here, there's two conversations. One is, thank you for bringing it to Melbourne. And two, don't take it to Sydney. These are the conversations that I have most often here. So whatever you do not take this show to Sydney. Leave it in this town.
What does that tell you?
It tells me, and I picked up on this the very first time, that there's a pretty substantial, that there's a rivalry aspect.
Yeah, among all the cities, because then there's a question
Brisbane
during the Q&A, and it'll be some random. So someone's like, "Oh, this question is from someone in Perth," and you'll hear someone in the crowd go, "Yay!" and then everyone else goes, "Boo!" It's like, and it's for whatever the city is. Someone will go, "Yay!" and someone else will go, "Boo!"
It has proponents and it has opponents.
But is there any pull from Sydney to take it to Sydney? Does Sydney want PAX?
Well, God only knows. I know that. I just know from the conversations that I've had that people from this town love having it here.
Why do you game?
Because it's fun, of course. I love it.
Is that the only reason?
Well, it's a challenge, I guess. Some games are more fun than others, obviously, but yeah, it's heaps of fun. You can do it with your friends, and it's awesome.
How long have you been gaming?
Ever since I was 4 years old. So
4 years old? Do you like gaming better than movies?
pretty much, gaming's pretty good.
Why is it better than movies?
Because it's more interactive. When you're watching movies, you're just like seeing it on the screen, where you can play games, so it's better.
And how long have you been gaming?
As long as I can remember.
As long as you can remember.
Since I was 3, I guess, yeah.
What was it about gaming that got you into it at 3 years old?
Well, I didn't have a lot of friends, and it was something to do that I found fun, and I just loved it. Loved every moment of it. I play League of Legends. I play so much that I can't even explain, and I would do it as a career if I was able to. Like, it's a dream. Love it.
How often do you game?
Daily. Whenever possible. Like, whenever possible. Daily. Yep.
What do you get out of it now?
It's just fun, it's distraction, and it's, I improve. I see my improvement, and I'm proud of it.
And is it better than movies?
Much better. Any day. Yeah.
Why do you game?
Because of Morrowind, actually. This is the first game I got into, and it's changed my entire life. But basically, I game for escapism. I really enjoy being able to forget about real life and stuff.
How has it changed your life?
How has it changed my life? Well, I'm really socially awkward, right? But cosplay has made me really, really social, and cosplay is something that's come from gaming for me. So it's it's changed my life in all sorts.
And why do you game?
Similar sort of escapism type thing. Yep. And I don't have as much to say as you.
And why do you game?
I game to look for great stories and to immerse myself in different worlds and to have fun, most importantly.
Here. They love that this is a part of the culture.
Is there something about the level of Americanization in the pop culture of Australia, and particularly of Melbourne, that you think accounts for the PAX show being here?
It's possible, but I have to say that, when I'm on the show floor, a lot of the stuff that obviously there's international content there. Australian gamers are interested in that. They want to have that. They want to have a show that has a global reach. But a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at out on that floor is actually Australian. It's Australian developers. It's Australian content. It is from here or from Australia in general. That's the lion's share of what you see on that indie section of the floor.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are a ton of really great Australian indie devs, and especially in Melbourne, there's a ton of them. The arcade right down the street. There's a bunch of indie devs, and it's all in 2 floors of a high rise, and they all have office space together.
Nope, I've been there. I've been there, and then the town, and obviously Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria does a great job of supporting the indie devs and all that stuff. We meet with them all the time, and they're
This
really
show
great.
has taken out every bay in Jeff's shed.
Yeah. It's a week long. PAX is 3 days, but the entire week is essentially given over to this art form.
This is, I think it's one of the biggest shows here. Very rarely does it take up the entire venue.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the part of the venue that you've taken up just for the queue in the morning is bigger than some exhibition spaces for other shows.
Yeah.
How many people have turned up to this show, or how many do you expect to turn up to this show here, and how does it compare to the other shows in the States?
Gosh, my task here is to be the host.
Yeah.
And so statistics of that kind, my task is to make sure that each individual person comes and leaves with an experience that they love. So in terms of statistics, that's not my task.
We don't like to pit the shows against each other. I will say that this show is, for the size and scale of it, right there with the other ones. It's a little smaller, but not much. It's right there.
Something that I noticed at Comic-Con, which I'm also noticing here.
San Diego Comic-Con?
No, any Comic-Con. Just because they had a Comic-Con here as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of similarities between the shows, mainly that it's very family friendly. I spoke to adults here who had brought their kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just basically passing on, if you like, the gaming gene to their children.
Yeah.
And also, it's friendly. You've got thousands of exhibitionists who have dressed up in costumes.
Oh, yeah.
Who are happy to pose with kids and to play and to sort of join in the fun of it. Do you think, guys, that the family-friendly aspect of these shows is something that can be promoted even more above the so-called nerd appeal?
Well, the reality, right, and we've actually discussed this.
Yeah.
The family appeal aspect of the show and the family outreach aspect of the show, there's no ceiling on that. The reality, right, is that these parents, it isn't about nerds and non-nerds, because these parents are absolutely nerds. If you dress your child as Pikachu from Pokemon, we have to say that you are in the nerd continuum, right? So it isn't about that. It's the fact that this art form isn't siloed in any specific group. This art form is a human art form, and it reaches very, very wide. And parents are in that group also. I mean, I'm a parent myself. When I founded the site and when I founded the first show, I was not a parent yet. Ultimately, my daughter would end up being practically born at one of these shows. So,
yeah, mine too.
Right? I have experience in these matters, but what we used to call nerd culture is actually just culture. If you look at the box office take, just to pull a movie thing, if you look at the box office take for something like Civil War II, Avengers, we can't say that the appeal of that content that would have been called nerd content, it's not siloed anywhere specific. This is human culture now.
Okie dokie! Yeah, old school Mario.
Is he old school or has he come back?
Oh mate, he's everlasting. He'll never go away.
How long have you been playing games?
All my life. Yeah, from the age of about 4, 5. Yeah, totally. Yeah, old Mortal Kombat, old Street Fighter at the arcades. First console was a Sega Master System. Yeah, so and Sega all the way through till the Dreamcast. Now we're on PlayStation, and yeah, just keep going.
Is gaming better than movies?
Is gaming better than movies? They're both art forms. I'd have to say they're on par. But I guess gaming is a little bit more involved, does draw you in a little bit more. Seeing as you're in control of the character and in control of the destiny of the story. So at the moment, he's really into Skylanders. Yeah, loves Skylanders and mobile gaming. So Plants vs Zombies, can't get enough of it. So he's a mixture, trying to get him into the old school retro Mario and so on. So.
Now, do you find this a very family-friendly event?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
What makes it family-friendly?
Just the range of activities to do, the free play gaming, the exhibitions, the booths from the large corporate entities. So yeah, it's a bit of everything.
And do you play the game or you are just in it for the cosplay?
I played a bit, but so yeah, that's why I chose Paladin. But I literally love the cosplay. Maybe I played World of Warcraft for the cosplay, for the cool.
What do you get out of the cosplay?
I just like making things. Yeah, it's really.
Did you make this outfit?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to make this?
A few weeks, but a lot of hours. Yeah.
And is gaming better than movies?
I think so. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because you get to win sometimes.
Gaming is bigger than cinema, isn't it? In terms of
I don't know.
The statistics I see, they're right there, neck and neck. I have heard that, that overall, like, gross income.
Dollar for dollar?
For the gaming industry has overtaken the film industry.
But there's some weird overlaps also.
There are, and there's a lot of specious math with that.
I think extricating those two would be tough.
Yeah, but it's, there's a lot.
Do you guys game?
Oh,
Thoroughly.
Yeah.
Why do you game?
I mean, I grew up with it. And there's a lot of different ways to game also.
Yeah.
But
why do you game? You've got so many other things to do. Why do you game? Why do you enter these worlds?
Yeah, I think that play, like curiosity, I think that maintaining a space for play is a human endeavor. I keep coming back to this, right? There isn't anything especially strange or novel about it. I think the difference is that we've opened up a cultural space so that, we can continue to play even as adults, right?
Yeah. Well, I find that I've been gaming a lot lately, entirely socially. Like, I play the most.
Oh, that's where you go. So instead of going down to the pub.
Yeah, it's like we're playing Overwatch, we're playing Destiny,
it's social.
We're playing something, we're grouping up at night.
Yeah, that's where we hang out.
Yeah.
It's not a place in the classic sense, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested just quickly in your notion of bringing play into the adult world in a legitimate sense. It's almost like you're fighting against the idea that an adult wanting to just muck around is a guilty pleasure.
This is what I mean.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. That can't be sustained.
Well, and it's like everyone's got a phone. Everything has a gaming element at this point. Gamification of anything is like one of the most prevalent terms.
Well, like Foursquare or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're gamifying going to a coffee shop.
Exactly. Yeah, you gamify just like buying sandwiches.
Pokemon Go, you gamify walking.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the reality is that those systems are tied into the way that the brain works.
Yeah.
Right? These rewards, right?
Yeah.
And one of the main complaints of modern life at the moment is stress related to the imbalance between work and life.
Yeah.
And that people aren't relaxing enough and aren't getting enough stress relief.
Well, when I think about the ways that my life is different from my father's life, is that he would have had to work very hard to carve out the type of time that I had, that I have when I play a game, right? I mean, I don't even know how those two things would even map to each other anymore.
Less shovels.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw a shovel.
Yeah, the types of work that we have are different. Like our lives are different in that way. But I mean, my father would never have sat down and done this sort of play, right? Yeah. It hadn't penetrated the culture in the same way yet.
How into gaming are you?
Well, considering I'm a programmer, I'm pretty into it.
How long have you been gaming?
Probably since I was 12 or 13, but I did have consoles growing up as well.
Why do you game?
Good stress relief after work. Programming all day, your brain starts to melt a bit. Good stress relief. And it's also fun. It's a good way to hang out with friends.
Is gaming better than movies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely better than movies.
Why?
Well, a movie is a static story, right? It's never going to change, but every time you play through a game, you're writing the story as you go. It's more like a collaborative effort, I guess. There's still a framework and rules, but everybody has a different experience, and half of the fun is just comparing your experience with everyone else's.
And I did notice that there's the tabletop section over there.
Yeah.
This is just basically people sitting down and playing cards.
Yep.
How is it that such an old school form of gaming can survive all of the stuff at the other end of the venue?
We're in like a resurgence of card games and board games at the moment. There's so many new ones coming out, and they're all really cool and unique. But it's a social experience, right? For a while, I think a lot of people forgot to sit around a table with their friends and chat and interact directly, and it's great to see people doing that again. Yeah, I used to have an NES when I was growing up, and a Sega Mega Drive as well. I like retro games as much as everyone else.
Do you have a Nintendo 64?
A 64? Oh, not anymore, I used to.
Shadows of the Empire.
These days, I still play Nintendo games on the go. And conventions are great for Street Pass.
I am painting a Reaper miniature.
And do you game? just do this?
No, I just came here for the painting. Yeah, I'm here with a few friends and they're gamers, so they're wandering around the place.
Is gaming better than movies?
Depends on your mood.
Yeah, tell me.
And the person. Well, I guess it's more interactive than the movies as well, because nowadays everyone's into something more, I don't know, personal, I guess. And with movies, it's more not as in-depth anymore.
And you'll walk around a venue like this, again, like Comic-Con, I'm going to say that there must be a fraternal link between them.
Yeah.
There must be a huge overlapping crowd. The atmosphere is so warm. It's really friendly. It's, can I talk to you? Sure, what do you want? You know, would you guys mind posing? Of course, they're dressed up. Why else would they be dressed up?
Absolutely. But you know what? Part of that is that's a PAX culture thing too.
Yeah.
And you'd see that at PAX South. You'd see that at West. You'd see that at East. There is something that the PAX attendee, globally, there is something that the PAX attendee brings to the show that makes it what it is.
Yeah, and it's like I'm obviously biased, but I've attended countless conventions, and
absolutely.
I've worked and built comic shows and other types of shows, and I will say PAX fans are by far the most friendliest. Like, they are super friendly, and then to go a notch above that, the Australian PAX fans are even friendlier than normal. It's crazy.
No, friendly in a way that it's like, to our sensibility, we can't even believe that it's real.
Yeah.
Again, just
our assumption as people from America is that people are constantly taking the piss, but they're not.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not really being. This is like some sort of like sarcastic joke. You're not actually this happy.
Yeah, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Or this is just some long con, and in like year 5, I'm gonna get it.
But then we're gonna see.
So far, so good.
Play a game because it's fun. It's a way to escape, I guess, reality. And what's the word I'm looking for? It's a different way to view narrative. Because I love movies. I'm a media student as well. But I feel like games are a better way to tell a story nowadays because you are the character when you play games. So I feel like
Do you like gaming better than movies?
Yes, I do, by far. Because some games, such as Hotline Miami, what I'm playing at, that's a completely just fun, action-based game. But then my favorite game, like Mass Effect, is a very story-based and it's easier to fall into your character role and actually make choices in the universe yourself. So yeah.
What we're doing is we're trying to stress, we work with the industry, we provide classifications for the gamers, and for parents, so parents who may not be gamers themselves or familiar with the game situation, they have advice about whether a game is suitable for their children. So the parents can assess the age of their child and look at the classification rating of the game, and if that's a situation where the parent is comfortable with their child buying that game, it's a win-win for the parent, the child, and the industry as well.
Are there any major worries with gaming today? In terms of violence, I guess?
Look, there are classifiable elements in all the games, violence, language, sex, and they go across all the classifications, but as the impact of each of those elements becomes stronger, the classification level goes up. And that's what we're doing with the classification. We're not cutting material, we're not saying you have to have take this element of game out. We're saying these elements of the game are in here, it fits neatly in the M classification box or the G classification. So that's what we're doing. We're allocating and assigning the game to where the impact is for the classification.
At the risk of re-asking the question, what do you think it is about Melbourne that accounts for that reaction?
Well,
it's PAX normal or PAX plus the Melbourne element. What is it?
Well, we always talk about this. I love Melbourne. This is a great town. It's got a very Seattle vibe, I always say.
Yeah, it's similar to Boston, the coastal towns.
Yeah, it's got there's a lot of cool architecture and cool culture, good coffee scene here.
Good strong brewing.
Yeah, there's just a good beer scene's really good here, and there's just a cool funky counterculture vibe that's really
it's a
that really fits.
It's almost like a ley line thing, right? There is some Melbourne is at some mystical conjunction of culture and place that just makes it a world-class town.